Hi everyone, Mrs. Hayward here. Sorry, look a bit of a mess because I've come back from the gym. Go me. I thought I would do a little video about Section B in preparation for the mocks or for the real thing, and the play that goes wrong, looking at costume and movement. So we start off with our generic opening paragraph. However you want to word it is totally up to you, but you need to say what you saw, when you saw it, where you saw it, and who it was by Mischief Theatre, and briefly, really briefly, what it was about, and the style. Okay, so I've written some examples of some really straightforward paragraphs. I need you to do that, and then you make a little link between what the STEM question has asked and the performance. So, for example, costume is really important in making the comedy happen because it exaggerates the characters, or movement is really important in creating slapstick because it's all very over the top. And then you're going to come up with your first moment, and your first moment you're going to explain what it is that's going on. So you need to make sure you're being really clear. So the first moment I'm going to talk about is when Florence, who is the fiance, and it's set in the 1920s, and she is feeling very, very distressed that her fiance has been found dead. And the moment I'm going to talk about is that, and she's wearing this. And I then explain in real detail what it is she's wearing. If I say a red dress, that could be anything, couldn't it? So you need to be really specific in what it is. And then you talk about how that made the character appear and why it was effective in that moment. And then what impression it gave you as an audience member. So being really clear. So do make sure you look on OneNote as well, because I have, God, I really do look rough in this video. Sorry, people. You really need to be clear about how to structure it in the details. So you'll see that I've done a costume example there for you. I have taken the liberty of bringing home our little sheets that we did. So just to remind you, the movement sections, ones that are particularly good, are the very beginning where we've got Thomas Collymore, not Thomas Collymore, the dead one. I can't even remember now. Charles. Anyway, and he is pretending to be dead, isn't he? And he ends up standing up and looking very alive, but then for comedy moment his eyes go out really, really wide, and he puts his left hand over his right shoulder and then his right hand over his left shoulder in a very over-exaggerated dramatic fashion. He then bows his head, closes his eyes, and shuffles backwards outside of the door. And that's a lot of comedy there, isn't it? Because he's clearly meant to be dead. He's being so over the top. We've also got Florence's repeated episodes. So they start off, don't they? And they're just like, ah. But then after each person does it, so then when the stage manager, Annie, comes on and does it, they're even more exaggerated. And the time where Trevor has to come on and do it, they're really, really exaggerated. And then the actors and the stage manager end up getting really into it. And almost it becomes like a dance, doesn't it? We've got the moment where the secret bookcase. So there's the butler, and also I think Annie, the stage manager, they're going round around the bookcase. That's quite a nice amusing moment. We've got the bit where Thomas Collymore, the guy in yellow, is desperately trying to hold all the bits of furniture up from that top platform, and you could see he's sweating, his eyes are really popped out because he's so nervous, he's shaking, he's spread out really, really far, and again that's causing comedy, isn't it? Because you can see that the actor is trying really hard to sort of make it all okay, but the harder he's trying, the worse it is. We've also then got the inspector screaming about the ledger, if you remember. And he's really, really tense, and he's pulling up the different cushions again and again, isn't he? And that's sort of causing more and more comedy. And he ends up screaming into one of the cushions at the end, doesn't he? We've got Winston the dog. Was lost. So right at the very beginning of the play, Trevor is going, oh, has anyone seen a dog? And then we realise later that the actual dog, the actor dog, is missing. And so he's having to like get the pretend chain, isn't he? He's like, brr. Cecil is miming everything he does, isn't he? So when he's got those big speeches, he's acting it out. And not only is this comical, but you can imagine that the actor, not the actual genuine actor, but the actor in the murder mystery, obviously was struggling to learn his lines. And so the best way for him to be able to memorize it was to create like almost like a dance routine action for each one of the movements, for each one of the lines. And that's the only way he could learn it. So again, that provided a lot of comedy. We've got Cecil breaking the fourth wall by waving to people in the audience. So as soon as someone laughed, he's like, awkward wave. We've got when Florence kept fainting and everyone else around her, how they all reacted. We've got magically appearing out of the clock. Yeah, that was so good. The inspector to walk down the stairs, miming it. So loads of great moments there. And then I've also got the costume one here, so reminding us of the costume. We've got Arthur the gardener's, the sideburns coming off. I wrote about that in my example answer on OneNote for you. The costumes looked like they were from the 1920s, so they fitted the year the show was based on. But they looked cheap, didn't they? We talked about. So Florence's dress, although it would look like it was from the 20s, like a flapper girl style, it clearly looked like something from Smithy's joke shop, didn't it? Like it looked like a cheap material. The backstage crew and lighting were in their blacks, weren't they? So they clearly weren't meant to be part of the show. Second time when Annie appeared, the stage manager appeared in Florence's outfit, it was all ripped, and she had those big splodges of red on her face that clearly looked like it had been done in a hurry. The tail of the inspector's coat served for comedic value, someone said. It's the idea of like flouncing it about. What else have we said? Oh yeah, Charles's brother Cecil getting cut by the sword and having the strip of red across him to show the blood. That was quite an amusing moment. Like again, it looked really cheap, didn't it? Cheap theatre production. It sort of sums it all up. The moustache on the gardener. So yeah, the sideburns. Yeah, so hopefully that helps, that reminds you. Do make sure you look for my example that I wrote on OneNote for you. You can see the sort of the level of detail that you need to go into and exactly how it's structured. So you should be spending about 25 minutes on this, and you're going to start off your exam by answering section B, and spend no more than 25 minutes doing it, and then you move on to the rest of them. Okay, sorry I look so rough and knackered in this video. Anyway, good luck.